Hello, this is Gregory Prabhue, and this is Learning the Holy Bible and the Bhagavad Gita as it is together. Earlier, I started this stream online, and some reason, Google or Yahoo, or not Google or Yahoo, but YouTube cut the stream. I have no idea why they cut the stream. They just cut the stream. So what's going to be left out, unfortunately, is our opening introduction and our opening prayer. Maybe I will be able to get part of that back online when this lesson is primarily over. Okay? So today we are going to be reading out of the Holy Bible and the Bhagavad Gita as it is. We all learn the text together. And the way we learn it is I will read, and if you have any questions on what is being read, because there might be something you're not understanding, or you might not be getting a message, or you may have a message yourself, please put it in the chat. Okay, the chat should be on your screen. It says engage with your audience. So it says start a question and answers. So I hit that. Okay. Hold on, I'm going to get my mug in the picture. Here is where you will submit your questions, concerns, and okay. Okay, so you see it says, here is where you will submit your questions, concerns, and comments. You should be seeing that on your screen. And you should have a chat on your screen. I don't know what that does, but I'm going to see. Okay. That doesn't really do anything for me. I don't know what it does for you folks. And I'm going to put that up there. Participants. I'm not sure what that's going to do either. But I'm going to leave it there for right now. And maybe it will show me people that are trying to ask me questions online. If not, I will have to go through this and refigure it again. Hopefully it will come back to me. I can't really do anything. Okay, so it tells me to follow that arrow. Okay, so that goes there. Live chat. All messages are visible. Okay, there we go. Okay, so that should be on your system now. So if there's anyone viewing this video, you are able to chat with me, and I will answer your questions, concerns, and comments at the end of this session. Okay, so we are going to start with the Holy Bible. I'm going to turn this music down. I apologize that YouTube did what they did. I have no idea why they do that. They do that so often on me. I don't know if it's them or Power Surge, but I would assume maybe it's them. Maybe they don't like something I'm doing. I don't know. But anyway, I try to do the good for everybody. So, again, my name is Gregory Prabhue. We are turning into the Holy Bible, the King James Version. That's one that I use. We're in the book of Leviticus, and we will start on chapter 10. I think that's where I left off, right? Or we did 7, let's see, we read 8 yesterday, 8 and 9, and we stopped at 10. Okay, so today we will read chapter 10, 11, up to chapter 12. Okay, that's where we'll stop, is on chapter 12 today, on the book of Leviticus. Leviticus has how many chapters? Let's see, we're on, Leviticus has a lot of chapters. I mean, not a lot, but not like what the other 2 books have. So we have 27 chapters, and we're on chapter 10. So that's okay. So we will start on page 139, towards the bottom right corner of the King James Version, where chapter 10 starts in. Okay, and we're going to go from chapter 10, 11, and I think we'll stop on chapter 12. So chapter 12 will be where we'll start tomorrow. So here we go, chapter 10 of Leviticus. And Nadab and Abihu, spelled Abihu, so that's Abihu. So Nadab and Abihu, the sons of Aaron, took either of them his censer and put fire therein, and put incense thereon, and offered strange fire before the Lord, which he commanded them not. And there went out fire from the Lord, and devoured them, and they died before the Lord. Then Moses them nigh me, and before all the people I will be glorified. And Aaron held his peace. And Moses called and Phan, so that's the sons of Uzziel, the uncle of Aaron, and said unto them, Come near. Carry your brethren from before the sanctuary out of the camp. So they went near and carried them in their coats out of the camp, as Moses had said. And Moses said unto Aaron, and unto Eleazar, and unto Ithamar, his sons, Uncover not your heads, neither rend your clothes, lest ye die, and lest wrath come upon all the people. But let your brethren, the whole house of Israel, bewail the burning which the Lord hath kindled. And ye shall not go out from the door of tabernacle of the congregation, lest ye die. For the anointing oil of the Lord is upon you. And they did according to the word of Moses. And the Lord spake unto Aaron, saying, Do not drink wine, nor strong drink, thou nor thy sons, when ye go into the tabernacle of the congregation, lest ye die. It shall be statute forever throughout your generations. And that ye may put difference between holy and unholy, and between unclean and clean. And that ye may teach the children of Israel all the statutes which the Lord hath spoken unto them by the hand of Moses. And Moses spake unto Aaron, and unto Eleazar, and unto Ithamar, his sons, that were left, Take the meat offering that remaineth of the offerings of the Lord, made by fire, and eat it without leaven besides the altar, for it is most holy. And ye shall eat it in the holy place, because it is thy due and thy sons' due of the sacrifices of the Lord made by fire. For so I am commanded. And the wave breast and heave shoulder shall ye eat in a clean place, thou and thy sons and thy daughters with thee, for they be thy due and thy sons' due, which are given out of the sacrifices of peace offerings of the children of Israel. The heave shoulder and the wave breast shall they bring with the offerings made by fire. Wave it for a wave offering before the Lord, and it shall be thine and thy sons with thy by a statute forever, as the Lord hath commanded. And Moses diligently sought the goat of the sin offering, and behold, it was burnt. And he was angry with Eleazar and Ithamar, the sons of Aaron, which were left alive, saying, Wherefore have ye not eaten the sin offering in the holy place, seeing it is most holy, and God hath given it you to bear the iniquity of the congregation, to make atonement for them before the Lord? Behold, the blood of it was not within the holy place. Ye should indeed have eaten it in the holy place, as I commanded. And Aaron said unto Moses, Behold, this day have they offered their sin offering and their burnt offering before the Lord, and such things have befallen me. And if I had eaten the sin offering today, should it have been accepted in the sight of the Lord? And when Moses heard that, he was content. And the Lord spake among all the beasts that are on the earth, whatsoever parteth the hoof and his cloven footed, and cheweth the cud among the beasts, that shall ye eat. Nevertheless, these shall ye not eat of them that chew the cud, or of them that divide the hoof, as the camel, because he cheweth the cud, but divideth not the hoof, he is unclean unto you. And the coney, and the coney, and the coney, well, yeah, okay, coney, and the coney, because he cheweth the cud, but divideth not the hoof, he is unclean unto you. And the hairy, because he cheweth the cud, but divideth not the hoof, he is unclean unto you. And the swine, though he divide the hoof, and be cloven-footed, yet he cheweth not the cud, he is unclean to you. Of their flesh shall ye not eat, and their carcass shall ye not touch. They are unclean to you. These shall eat of all that are in the waters, whatsoever hath fins and scales in the waters, in the seas and in the rivers, them shall ye eat. And all that have not fins and scales in the seas and in the rivers, of all that move in the waters, and of any living thing which is in the waters, they shall be an abomination unto you. They shall be even an abomination unto you. Ye shall not eat of their flesh, but ye shall have their carcasses in abomination. Whatsoever hath no fins nor scales in the waters, that shall be an abomination unto you. And these are they which ye shall have in abomination among the fowls, they shall not be eaten. They are an abomination. the eagle and the ossifragi, ossifrag, OSSIFRAGE, and the osprey, and the vulture and the kite after his kind. Every raven after his kind, and the owl, and the nighthawk, and the cuckoo, and the hawk after his kind, and the little owl, and the cormorant, and the great owl, and the swan, and the pelican, and the gyre eagle, or gyre eagle, GIER, gyre eagle, and the stork, the heron after her kind, and the lapwing, and the bat. All fowls that creep going upon all four shall be an abomination unto you. Yet these may ye eat of every flying, creeping thing that goeth upon all four, which have legs above their feet, to leap withal upon, even those of them ye may eat, the locust after his kind, and the bald locust after his kind, and the beetle after his kind, and the grasshopper after his kind. But all other flying, creeping things, which have 4 feet, shall be an abomination unto you. So let's reread that again. But all other flying, creeping things, which have 4 feet, shall be an abomination unto you. And for these ye shall be unclean. Whosoever toucheth the carcass of them shall be unclean until the even. And whosoever beareth aught of the carcass of them shall wash his clothes and be unclean until the even. The carcass of every beast which divideth the hoof, and is not cloven-footed, nor cheweth the cud, are unclean unto you. Everyone that toucheth them shall be unclean. And whosoever toucheth their carcass shall be unclean. And he that beareth the carcass of them shall wash his clothes and be unclean until things that creep upon the earth, the weasel and the mouse and the tortoise after his kind. And the ferret and the chameleon and the lizard and the small, sorry about that. And the ferret and the chameleon and the lizard and the snail and the mole. These are unclean to you among all that creep. Whosoever doeth touch them when they be dead, snail be unclean until the even. And upon whatsoever any of them when they are dead doeth fall, it shall be unclean, whether it be any vessel of wood or remnant or skin or sack, whatsoever vessel it be, wherein any work is done. It must be put into water, and it shall be unclean until the even, so it shall be cleansed. And every earthen vessel, whereinto any of them falleth, whatsoever is in it shall be unclean, and ye shall break it. Of all meat which may be eaten, that on which such water cometh shall be unclean, and all drink that may be drunk in every such vessel shall be unclean. And everything whereupon any part, of their carcass faileth shall be unclean, whether it be oven or ranges for pots. They shall be broken down, for they are unclean, and shall be unclean unto you. Nevertheless, a fountain or pit wherein there is plenty of water shall be clean, but that which toucheth their carcass shall be unclean. And if any part of their carcass fall upon any sowing seed which is to be sown, it shall be unclean. It shall be clean. Okay? Let me reread that verse. That's verse 37 of chapter 12 of Leviticus. And if any part of their carcass fall upon any sowing seed which is to be sown, it shall be clean. But if any water be put upon the seed, and any part But if any water be put upon the seed, and any part of their carcass fall thereon, it shall be unclean unto you. And if any beast of which ye may eat die, he that touches the carcass thereof shall be unclean until the even. And that eateth of the carcass of it shall wash his clothes and be unclean until the even. He also that beareth the carcass of it shall wash the clothes and be unclean until the event. No, until the even. And every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth shall be an abomination. It shall not be eaten. Whatsoever goeth upon the belly, and whatsoever goeth upon all four, or whatsoever hath more feet among all creeping things that creep upon the earth, them ye shall not eat. Ye shall not make yourselves abominable with any creeping thing that creepeth, neither shall ye make yourselves unclean with them, that ye should be defiled thereby. Thereby. Okay, thereby. Okay, let's reread that. You shall not make yourselves abominable with any creeping thing that creepeth, neither shall ye make yourselves unclean with them, that ye should be detailed thereby. For I am the Lord your God. Ye shall therefore sanctify yourselves, and ye shall be holy, for I am holy. Neither shall ye. I am the Lord that bringeth you up to For I am the Lord that bringeth you up out of the land of Egypt to be your God. Ye shall therefore be holy, for I am holy. This is the law of the beast and of the fowl, and of every living creature that moveth in the waters, and of every creature that creepeth upon the earth, to make a difference between the unclean and the clean. This is the law of the beast, and of the fowl, and of every living creature that moveth in the waters, and every creature that creepeth upon the earth, to make a difference between the unclean and the clean, and between the beast that may be eaten and the beast that may not be eaten. Okay, chapter 12. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, saying, If a woman have conceived seed and born a man child, then she shall be unclean 7 days. According to the days of the separation for her infirmity shall she be unclean. And in the 8th day, the flesh of his forsaken skin, no, not forsaken skin, foreskin. Boy, I'm really fouling up today here. Okay, let me go back to the first verse of chapter 12. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, saying, If a woman have conceived seed and born a man child, then she shall be unclean 7 days. According to the days of the separation for her infirmity shall she be unclean. And in the 8th day, the flesh of his foreskin shall be circumcised. And she shall then continue in the blood of her purifying 33 days. She shall touch no hallowed thing, nor come into the sanctuary unto the days of her purifying be fulfilled. But if she bear a maid child, then she shall be unclean 2 weeks, as in her separation, and she shall continue in the blood of her purifying 66 days. And when the days of her purifying are fulfilled for a son or for a daughter, she shall bring a lamb of the first year for a burnt offering, and a young pigeon or a turtle dove for a sin offering unto the door of the tabernacle of the congregation, unto the priest, who shall offer it before the Lord and make an atonement for her. And she shall be cleansed from the issue of her blood. This is the law for her that hath borne a male or a female. And if she be not able to bring a lamb, then she shall bring 2 turtles or 2 young pigeons, the one for the burnt offering and the other for a sin offering. And the priest shall make an atonement for her, and she shall be clean. Okay? So we'll stop there, and we'll resume chapter 13 of Leviticus tomorrow. That'll be on 143. Any questions in the reading of the Bible today from Leviticus? Please jot down your question, your concern, and comment. Now we are going to get into the nectar of the lesson, which is the Bhagavad Gita as it is. And we are in Karma Yoga. That's the 3rd chapter of the Gita. And hold on a second while I get to where we were yesterday. Where we left off yesterday. Here we go. Okay, please turn your Bhagavad Gita, if you have one, to page 201. And we will start with the text 34. We will start with the translation. Remember, I will read the translation, and the meaning of the translation is the purport. When I get better trained, I will, next time around when I read the Gita, I will read the Sanskrit words leading up to the translation, leading up to the purport. But today, it's only translation and purport. So text 34 on the top of page 201, the translation says, there are principles to regulate attachment pertaining to the senses and their objects. One should not come under the control of such attachment and aversion because they are stumbling blocks on the path of self-realization. And the meaning of that translation from the purport says this: those who are in Krishna consciousness are naturally reluctant to engage in material sense gratification. But those who are not in such consciousness should follow the rules and regulations of the revealed scripture. Unrestricted sense enjoyment is the cause of material entanglement. Okay, listen to this. Unrestricted sense enjoyment is the cause of material entanglement. But one who follows the rules and regulations of the revealed scriptures does not become entangled by the sense objects. For example, sex enjoyment is necessary for the conditioned soul, and sex enjoyment is allowed under the license of marriage, ties. So if you're married, it's good, it's okay. Okay? According to the scripture injunctions, one is forbidden to engage in sex relationships with any woman other than one's wife. So let's read that again. That's very important. It says, according to scriptural injunction, one is forbidden to engage in sex relationships with any woman other than one's wife. That means that if you are married, the only person you can engage with a sex relationship is only with your wife, not any other woman outside of that. If you do, you are committing big sins. Basically, you are breaking one of the commandments in the Holy Bible that says, thou shalt not commit adultery. And at the same time, you're breaking another commandment that says, thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife. So those are very important rules of God, as according to both the Holy Bible and the Gita. So if you are married, you have married ties, you can enjoy sex engaging only with your wife. All other women are to be considered as one's mother. But in spite of such injunctions, a man is still inclined to have sex relationships with other women. That's forbidden, remember. These propensities are to be curbed. Otherwise, they will be stumbling blocks on the path of self-realization, which means you probably won't get to self-realization if you have sex with other women other than engaging with your wife. As long as the material body is there, the necessities of the material body are allowed, but under rules and regulations. And yet, we should not rely upon the control of such allowances. One has to follow those rules and regulations, unattached to them, because practice of sense gratification under regulations may also lead one to go astray. As much as there is always the chance of an accident, even on the royal roads, although they may be very carefully maintained, no one can guarantee that there will be no danger, even on the safest roads. If your sins get out of hand, get out of line, because you're not controlling your senses, you're going to make a mistake and commit a sin, an engagement with other women, which is very wrong. But you can always ask God for forgiveness, and same with your soulmate. Okay? The sense enjoyment spirit has been current a very long, long time, owing to material association. Therefore, in spite of regulated sense enjoyment, there is every chance of falling down. Therefore, any attachment for regulated sense enjoyment must also be avoided by all means. So this means you must really be strong in controlling your senses, which controls your sinful nature. If you can do that, chances are you probably won't fall down. But if you can't do that, then you're going to fall down. But attachment to Krishna consciousness, this is very important. But attachment to Krishna consciousness, or acting always in the loving service of Krishna, detaches one from all kinds of sensory activities. Therefore, no one should try to be detached from Krishna consciousness at any stage of life. The whole purpose of detachment from all kinds of sense attachment is ultimately to become situated on the platform of Krishna consciousness. So Krishna consciousness is very powerful, very strong. If you stay steadfast with Krishna and never allow yourself to be detached from Krishna, you're on the right path and you'll do good and you won't get entangled in sense self-gratification. The only way to get into the entanglement of sense self-gratification is if you detach yourself from Krishna, or if you detach yourself from Krishna consciousness. Then you're going to get yourself into trouble. So never do that. Always be stead strong with Lord Krishna and into Krishna consciousness. Okay, we go to text 35. The translation says, "It is far better to discharge one's prescribed duties, even though faulty, than another duties perfectly. Destruction, course of performing one's own duty, is better than engaging in another's duties, for to follow another path is dangerous." That's important. Let's read this translation one more time, because this is very important. It is far better to discharge one's prescribed duties, even though faultily. Let's see. It is far better to discharge one's prescribed duties, even though faultily, than another's duties perfectly. Destruction in the course of performing one's own duty is better than engaging in another's duties, for to follow another path is dangerous. So it's saying stay on the same path, don't follow another path. Okay, so the meaning of that translation from the purport is exactly this. One should therefore discharge his prescribed duties in full Krishna consciousness rather than those prescribed for others. Materially prescribed duties are duties enjoined according to one's psychophysical condition. Under the spell of the modes of material nature, spiritual duties are as ordered by the spiritual master for the transcendental service of Krishna. But whether material or spiritual, one should stick to his prescribed duties even up to death, rather than imitate another's prescribed duties. Duties on the spiritual platform and duties on the material platform may be different, but the principle of following the authorized direction is always good for the performer. When one is under the spell of the modes of material nature, one should follow the prescribed rules for his particular situation and should not imitate others. For example, Brahmana, who is the mode of goodness, is non-violent, whereas Kshatriya, who is in the mode of passion, is allowed to be violent. As such, for Kshatriya, it is better to be vanquished, following rules of violence, than to imitate Brahmana, who follows the principles of nonviolence. Everyone has to cleanse his heart by gradual process, not abruptly. However, when one transcends the mode of material nature and is fully situated in Krishna consciousness, he can perform anything and everything under the direction of a bona fide spiritual master. In that complete stage of Krishna consciousness, the Kshatriya may act as Brahmana, or a Brahmana may act as a Kshatriya. In the transcendental stage, the distinction of the material world do not apply. For example, Visvamitra, 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 was originally a Kshatriya, but later on he acted as a Brahmana, whereas Parasurama was a Brahmana, but later on acted as a Kshatriya. Being transcendently situated, they could do so, but as long as one is on the material platform, he must perform his duties as accordingly to the modes of material nature. At the same time, he must have a full sense of Krishna consciousness. Text 36, translation. Arjuna said, O descendant of Vrishni, not Vishnu, it's supposed to be Vishnu, but it's not. It's Vrishni. Okay, here we go. Arjuna said, O descendant of Vrishni, by what is one impeded? Looks like the word impeded. It's not impelled. Okay, impelled. Okay, I see. Wasn't typed very good. Okay, Arjuna said, O descendant of Vrishni, by what is one impelled to sin two acts? That's not typed very good either. Sintui, S-I-N-T-U-I. That's what it looks like. Sintui. It doesn't complete. Sintui. It's S-I-N-T-U, whatever that last one is. It's not typed very well. So Arjuna said, O descendant of Vrishni, by what is one impelled to sin two acts, even unwillingly, as if engaged by force? Okay, let's see what the meaning is of that translation, because it's not very clear. It wasn't typed very good. So the purport says that the meaning of that translation is, a living entity as part and parcel of the Supreme is originally spiritual, pure and free from all material contaminations. Okay, so that first part of that translation says this: a living entity as part and parcel of the Supreme is originally spiritual, pure, and free from all material contamination. Therefore, by nature, he is not subject to the sins of the material world. Aha, but here's the twist. But when he is in contact with the material nature, he acts in many sinful ways without hesitation, and sometimes even against his will. As such, Arjuna's question to Krishna is very sanguine as to the perverted nature of the living entities. Although the living entity sometimes does not want to act in sin, he is still forced to act. Sinful actions are not, however, impelled by the super soul within, but are due to another cause, as the Lord explains in the next verse. Okay? So this is text 37. This will be the last text that we read for today. It's going to be a very detailed explanation of what we just read. Okay? So I made a note here, right by where it says text 37. I go, lust comes out of nowhere to cause sin. Lust comes out from nowhere to cause sin. So lust is one of those things that passage we just talked about does. It forces a man or a woman to act when they don't want to act, but they're forced to do so. Okay, let's see what Krishna says in text 37. The translation from the Sanskrit words, Krishna says, the Supreme Personality of Godhead said, it is lust only, Arjuna, which is born of contact with material mode of passion and later transformed into wrath, and which is the all-devouring sinful enemy of this world. So you see, lust and sex go together. Lust and sex is one of man's biggest, hugest enemy on any of the planets in which he will reside on that Krishna puts him on. Okay? And that has to deal with all your senses. So remember, I'm always talking about learning how to control your senses, learning how to control your mind, learning how to control your tongue. If we work on that religiously, then lust isn't going to get through too easily. But if we're not in control of our senses, or we let our guard down, then lust comes out of nowhere and can cause you to do really big sins. Like it can make you, if you're married, it can make you go out on your wife. It can do all kinds of bad things. So do your best to control your senses. Do your best to control your mind. Do your best to control your tongue so lust can't come out like it says there. Lust comes out of nowhere to cause you to do big sin. Okay? So now the purport, the meaning of that translation in detail. I'm going to read that translation one more time and then we'll go into the purport. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, it is lust only, Arjuna, which is born of contact with the material mode of passion, later transformed into wrath, and which is the all-devouring sinful enemy of the world, which is lust. Okay, the purport explains that translation this way. When a living entity comes into contact with the material creation, his eternal love for Krishna is transformed into lust. In association with the mode of passion, or in other words, the sense of love of God becomes transformed into lust, as milk in contact with sour tamarind is transformed into yogurt. Then again, when lust is unsatisfied, it turns into wrath, which means that if your lust is getting the best of you, you get angry. Wrath means angry, I believe. You turn very angry. Okay, let's look up the word wrath. I'm pretty sure I'm right, but we're going to make sure that I'm right because I don't want to mislead anybody on the wrong path in this situation, because this is very important. It's also very dangerous. I mean, that's why a lot of people, go to things like pornography, and then they go out and they start calling women and they start going dancing in public bars and stuff. They're letting their sin and their lust get out of control, and they grab the first real pretty woman that they see in their eye and they say, okay, let's go. And they do sin. They They break the commandments and break God's laws and the laws of nature, which is very bad. We don't want to do that. So Krishna is trying to tell us, control our senses, control our mind, control our tongues. That's why he's giving us in such detail. Beware, be on the alert for lust. Don't let it take you over. Don't let it mess you up. Okay. Give me a moment here because I'm yakking a lot. I really love God a lot. Okay, here's the word, wrath. It means violent anger or fury. So see, I was right. Anger, fury, gets upset, want to fight. Wrong people, wrong things. Because lust is getting out of control. And it's not being satisfied. He's not going for the pretty woman other than maybe his wife if he's married, you know. It says wrath is transformed into illusion. So he starts having illusions now because he's so angry and mad and he's full of fury and violence, and he wants to bust out. Lust wants to bust out and do its worst damage. And this guy's trying so hard to keep it contained. And illusion continues the material existence. So he starts getting entangled in the material part. That's the body, you know, the body of the woman is material and it's pretty and he's lusting and he's wanting, but he's trying to fight it at the same time. Therefore, lust is the greatest enemy of the living entity. So it's also the enemy of the woman. The woman goes through the same thing that the guy does, and they fight it and fight it and fight it, and sometimes they can't fight it and they just do it because they're weak on controlling their senses. They can't stay attached to Krishna. They attach themselves to the materialism, the material body. And then there's all kinds of issues and problems, maybe a divorce coming, if they're forgiving and they know they've done wrong and their other half can forgive them and so on and so forth. As long as they put Krishna in the middle, maybe it's possible it'll be patched up and it'll never happen again. And they'll never experience that because they'll be in control of their senses at all times. So let's hope that good people stick together and don't get tempted by the terrible forms of lust. And it says here, right here, it says, therefore, lust is the greatest enemy of the living entity. And it is lust only which induces the pure living entity to remain entangled in the material world. So if you break the commandments of God and you're not forgiven and it's too late, or you know, you have to keep going through that life-death cycle, life, disease, old age, death, life cycle. You just keep going around and around until that's out of your system. Wrath is the manifestation of the mode of ignorance. So when you get angry and you get violent, that is the mode of ignorance taking over. So you see what lust does. It causes you to lose your senses. It causes ignorance to take over, and just all kinds of hideous things happen, which you don't wish to happen, and you feel guilty afterwards, and you try to get forgiveness and make sure that you don't do that act again, because that act again is terrible. If you keep doing that, then you lose everything. You lose everything. Just because of that one pretty flower testing you and testing you and testing you. Then you falling for it, and you fall down for it, and you go for it, and all kinds of things can happen. And that flower can end up having a child, you know, out of wedlock. I mean, all kinds of demonic things happen when you don't control your senses, when you let things like lust bust out and you have a hard time controlling it. It makes you make mistakes. If you're into Krishna, maybe it won't bust out. Maybe you'll be able to control it. But if it busts out, you always have Krishna to back on to. So I'm always saying, as long as you have Krishna in the center, as long as you're in contact with him, talk to him, confide in him. Look at the beginning in the Bible, in the Holy Bible. Adam and Eve, they had many chances to confide with God before they went for what the serpent told them to go for. But Eve didn't do that. She just took of that apple because she wanted to feel like a god. She wanted to see knowledge and truth from what the serpent told her it would do. And she felt terrible. She was scared and she wanted to cover herself up. Then she tempted Adam the same way the serpent tempted her. And she says, oh, you'll be a god. You'll be my God if you take the fruit. And Adam, he had a chance to talk to God, but he didn't do it either. And God knew they were going to do that because they had desires and they had anxieties back home, which is in the spiritual dimension, which is in heaven, which is in Golak Vrindavan. Had sinful natures. They let it get away from them and got put here. And that's the beginning of creation on earth. And it's been going on for many hundreds of thousands of years. And of course, ends and begins again because God is the Alpha and the Omega. But he is, I believe in my heart and soul, like I say all the time, he's building something of perfection, something of divinity for all of us to benefit from. Believe in Krishna. You love Krishna so much. You know that he's always been. He's always been. He's never had a death. He's never had a birth. None of our souls have had a death or a birth. They only die in the material part because our souls is from him. And I believe he feels the same as we do. He gets lonely just like we do. Now, a lot of you are going to say, I'm all wet. Maybe I'm not. Maybe I am way out in Southfield, but maybe I'm not. Maybe he feels that too. And so he's building something of perfection. And once he perfects it, he's not going to do this anymore because he doesn't have to. And he'll have some form of companionship through all of us. And I think that'll be wonderful for everyone. I think that's what he's building. I mean, if I'm wrong, but I love it. And I think that's what he's doing. That's my own opinion. That's my own heart talking. So anyway, we'll get back to this. So it says, wrath is the manifestation of the mode of ignorance. These modes exhibit themselves as wrath and other corollaries, spelled Corollaries. Now, we should look that word up and see what that means. Because I don't even really know what that means. I mean, it's used in that sentence, okay. But we should find out what corollaries means. I'm saying it. Let's A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, H, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, C, O. Folks, because I gotta find it. C-O-R. Okay, C-O-R what? C-O-R-O. L-M-N-O. C-O-R-O-L. Okay, this is close enough. The word in the dictionary is spelled pretty much the same. It just doesn't have the I-E-S on it. It's said. So it's basically the same word. This doesn't have the IES, but it shows plural. It can have the IES, so that's the word. The meaning is something that naturally or incidentally follows or accompanies. Okay? So corollaries means something that naturally or incidentally follows or accompanies. So if we read that again, it says, wrath is the manifestation mode of ignorance. These modes exhibit themselves as wrath under other into the mode of ignorance is elevated to the mode of goodness by spiritual attachment. See there, right there. If therefore the mode of passion, instead of being degraded into the mode of ignorance, is elevated to the mode of goodness by the prescribed method of living and acting, then one can be saved from the degradation of wrath by spiritual attachment. You're not going to let lust bust out, and you're going to win. And that enemy is done, at least for the time being. So you always have to be sharp. You always sharp. You got to keep your attitude sharp. You got to keep connected with Krishna so that these bad, sinful things don't get out of you, make you wrong things, and make you go against your wife and do all kinds of mundane and nonsense things. Okay, next paragraph in this purport. It says, the Supreme Personality of Godhead explained himself into many for his ever-increasing spiritual bliss. And the living entities are parts and partials of this spiritual bliss. They also have partial independence, but by misuse of their independence, when the service attitude is transformed into the propenity for sense enjoyment, they come under the sway of lust. There it is. There it is. They also have partial independence, but by misuse of their independence, when the service attitude is transformed in the propenity for sense enjoyment, and lust busts out, then you lose every creation is created by the Lord to give facility to the conditioned souls to fulfill these lustful propensities. And when completely baffled by proposition, the inquiry is the beginning of the Vedanta Sutras, wherein it is said, Atheto Brahma Jainasa, one should inquire into the Supreme. And the Supreme is defined in Srimad Bhagavatam as Janamadi, Asia, Yato, Nivada, Id, Itarastaska, or the origin of everything is the Supreme Brahman. Therefore, the origin of lust is also in the Supreme. If therefore lust is transformed into lust, in other words, desiring everything for Krishna, then both lust and wrath can be spiritualized, which means they become spiritualized because they get disassembled. I believe. I mean, I could be wrong. That's the way I believe. Hanuman, the great servitor of Lord Rama, exhibited his wrath by burning the golden city of Ravana, the golden city of the devil. But by doing so, he became the greatest devotee of the Lord. Here also in Bhagavad Gita, the Lord induces Arjuna to engage his wrath upon his enemies for the satisfaction of the Lord. Therefore, lust and wrath, when they are employed in Krishna consciousness, become our friends instead of our enemies, because we're doing service for the Lord, which means we're fully engaged in Krishna consciousness and the Lord is in charge. Okay? That's what they say. Don't let it bust out. Don't let it ruin your marriage. Don't let it ruin your relationship, especially even if you started a relationship with the fine woman and you really like her and she really likes you and you're going to another one. You just keep, lust is not a good. Lust is very bad. And everybody has it because we all have a sinful natures. We all have a certain degree of sin in each and every one of us. If we have that sinful nature, we have to be studying God's word each and every day and do our best, if you're into Krishna consciousness, to chant with japa beads every day to keep protected mundane nonsense things. Lust is nonsense. That busts out when you start engaging in your sexual. You only engage with your wife, grace, to keep it going. To keep it going. That's all that. And they want they kind of want that youth back. Might want to jump his bone. They're thinking, "Oh man, I'm an old man. Man, I look terrible. I look like a retard. I something. I don't know what I need." And then he looks at a pretty woman, and then all of a sudden, "Oh yes, And he starts dressing up and starts making himself try a few drinks, and he gets her a little high, and then he says, "Oh, let's go to bed. Let's go." And they go to a room, and there it goes. Lust broke out. And he could lose his marriage for that. So we have to be very careful. We have to be very careful. We have to get rid of bad thoughts. I'm a happy man. I have everything to lose. I have nothing to gain here. I don't go through with this offer them together. And I'm learning just like you are through the Gita and through the Bible. And I've read them many times, but I continue to read them and continue to study them, and they're always talking to me, and I'm always learning new things and new words and so on and so forth. So that's what this is all about, learning the Holy Bible and the Bhagavad Gita as it is together, so we learn more about who we are, discover more about ourselves, and learn more about God himself, one and the same. Sita, Radha, one and the same. See, there's only one God, many different expansions of who he is in the way in which he reaches out to all us human beings. Now, I'll never understand the Supreme Being because he is who he is. He's all-knowing. He's all everything. However, if he perfects what he's doing, then we're going to have a wonderful eternal life with him. And no one will ever have to feel that loneliness ever again, because loneliness, lust, and sex kind of all three go together with the mode of ignorance. And the mode of ignorance is what we need to knock off, folks, because the mode of passion and the mode of goodness, that creates great things. But that ignorance, it destroys a lot of things because it's the destructor. And it's part of the tester. And the demon, Lucifer, they're full of ignorance. They're full of arrogance. They're full of all kinds of destroying a lot and cause us to do a lot of bad things, a lot of mundane things, a lot of nonsense things. Gratifications with our wives. We can't go wrong. No one can go wrong. Because he's everything. He is everything. And I can't say that enough. All right? So I don't happen to see any questions. I wish there were, because I really would like to answer questions for people. I really, really would. It says question, answer, viewer. Let's see. Let's see where that goes. I've never touched that one before. No, it just brings mine up. It just says here. So anyway, you can still add your questions and concerns and comments in the comments section area of each video that plays back from this live stream. And I will get to those questions and concerns and comments in the order in which I receive them from every video that has been made by me to help you learn about the Bible and the Gita. Okay? So I'm going to move this forward, and I'm going to turn on the music. And we will conclude with our closing prayers and a few statements. So if you get to feeling, the best suggestion and advice I can give you is if you get to feeling down or low, or you get the anxiety of feeling lustful, and you have a bag of japa beads, just get them and get yourself outside or walking around your house and just get those beads and start chanting. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Hare, Hare Hare Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Chant and chant while you're feeling that way that I just said. That chanting will take all feeling away. Will take the anxiety in your body away, because you're asking the Lord to help you. You're telling him you love him. You need him to take away these. And God will protect you. Gita just told you, he will protect you. He will protect you. But you gotta talk with him. You gotta talk to him. You start chanting. You'll take the anxiety, the desires away. So the only thing you want is Lord Krishna himself. I guarantee you it works every time. It works every time. Spoil, make her feel wanted and loved. That's what our soul made them back up. They are man's strength. A man's strength, especially if you put God in the center of your relationship. If you put that stake of God in the center of your relationship, you're always going to be strong and probably overcome just about everything. The sad part is when you leave. It would be nice if we left together as a couple. Some people get that wish. A lot of people don't. Because when we come into the planet, we come in on Krishna's time. When we leave the planet, however we leave, we leave on Krishna's time. So we come in on Krishna's time, we leave on Krishna's time. God's time. It's always. Just a little bit so I can say my prayer. I'm sorry if I got boisterous and loud, but I always get excited when I'm talking about expansions. Lord Krishna is, and he's here for all of us and all the different human societies that there are, and there's over 400,000 different human societies. And he's always trying to bring us all home because all part and partial of him. We are sparked from him because he is the source of life. He is the source of life. And no one, no human, no living entity can describe who Krishna is. How he works, nobody can describe that. Who he is, nobody can describe that. The only thing that we know is that he is the supreme being. He is the master. He is the guide. He is the teacher. He is the president. He is the Father. He is everything to everyone. That is who he is. He is the best of the best. He is the hugest of the hugest and the smallest of the smallest. He's wonderful. He's amazing. And there's not enough languages on this planet or any other planet to describe him. He's just who he is. And be joyous and enjoy his pastimes, of his stories. It's glorious. So, Lord Krishna and Jesus Christ, we thank you for this remarkable day of life. We respect that you've given us this day of life. We thank you so much for all the love and warmth in the regions of our heart. We thank you for helping us each and every day. We thank you for protecting us. We thank you that you do for us. Because you are everything, and we are learning. We are learning to be the way he is to be, Jesus, by learning of your rules, your laws, your rules. It's going to be an awesome place for all of us. Bright place, a shady place, and a place of togetherness, a place of love, a place of warmth. There's not enough words to describe that either. Anyway, we thank you for our life. We thank you for this. This day is Monday, September. All the humans. We thank you for all the living entities. We thank you for everything good. We thank you for the money you give us so that we can have things. We thank you our material objects, material items. We hope that you will help us to get out of this material entanglement, that you will bring us home. And we know that we can be baptized, and we can and we can go through all these ceremonies of being dedicated, loyal, dependent, as we're in the material world. We know once we leave these material bodies you have so graciously made for us, that everything will be left behind. And if our karma is enough, we'll be able to get out of the being around a while, possibly getting disease, coming to old age, and going through death, and being reborn, going, and continuing on. We hope that you will bring us out. We hope that you will help us to learn enough to purify ourselves just enough so that we don't have to come back here and we can stay with you through eternity in the spiritual dimension, in heaven, paradise, in your humble abode, Glaka Vrindavan. We thank you for this day. We thank you for each other's. We thank you for the challenges and issues that you present in front of us. And we hope that we will be intelligent enough to ask you for help, because we can't do this alone. We can't live in this life alone. We need your help, your guidance, as much as we can. Things like ignorance, arrogance, rid of the bad things, and to grow in the good things. The food that we are going to be participating in, putting in our bodies today, we hope that you'll bless every particle, every liquid that we drink. We hope that you'll bless that. We hope that you'll make everything for job. We're going to eat sin, and that's going to increase our sin, which is going to problem. So please. And in Jesus Christ's name, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Kings of Kings. Someday we know you're going to return back to Jesus Christ, our Lord. Thank you for joining us. This is Gregory